At 2 in the morning, my Uber driver suddenly locked all the doors and whispered, "Don't move, stay quiet." I felt my stomach twist. I thought he was the danger until he pointed to the mirror. That was the moment I realized something was terribly wrong. My name is Avery Holt. I'm 22. My mom is Lena, a nurse who always tells me to trust my instincts. My younger brother is Noah, who checks on me every night because he worries too much. I was alone in the back seat, confused and scared, trying to understand why a stranger was locking me inside his car at that hour. Then he leaned forward, his voice low but steady. "Avery, look behind us." I saw a dark sedan with no headlights on, following us at a slow, steady pace. He took a breath and said, "I know who is inside that car." Everything inside me froze. I had left my friend Zara's apartment after a long night of studying for a morning exam. I was tired and ready to get home. The street outside her building was quiet, the kind of quiet that makes you want to walk fast and keep your head down. Noah's car had broken down earlier that day, and my mom was working an overnight shift at the hospital, so I ordered an Uber. When the Uber pulled up, the driver greeted me with a small smile. His name was Rylan Cross. He looked to be in his mid-30s, calm and polite. He said, "Good morning," or "Good night." Depends how you see it. His voice was friendly enough that I relaxed a little. The ride felt normal at first. We talked about my exam, his night shift, and how cold it had gotten. I leaned back and scrolled through my phone. I was tired but awake enough to notice the quiet roads and the empty sidewalks. The city never felt unsafe to me, but being out at that hour always made me a little uneasy. I tried to shake it off. The car was warm, the ride smooth, and I was close to home. But after a few minutes, Rylan stopped talking. His posture changed. His shoulders tightened. He kept glancing into the rearview mirror. At first, I thought he was watching for traffic, but something in his eyes looked tense. The shift in the air made my heartbeat rise. I sat up straight, wondering if something was happening that I couldn't see yet. I didn't know that those quiet glances were the start of the most frightening ride of my life. If you're watching this, hit subscribe and comment where you're watching from so I can welcome you to the channel. The quiet inside the car grew heavier with every passing second as I watched Rylan's eyes lift again and again toward the rearview mirror. At first, I tried to convince myself that I was imagining his tension. Maybe he was tired. Maybe he was just being careful. But the way his fingers tightened around the steering wheel made the air in my chest sink. He was breathing slower, like he was trying to stay calm for a reason I didn't understand yet. I shifted forward in my seat and asked if everything was all right. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he pressed the lock button on the door panel, and the soft click of the doors securing themselves felt louder than any sound I had heard that night. My heart jumped. I stared at him, trying to make sense of what he was doing. He kept his eyes forward as he said, in a voice that was firm and steady, "Avery, I need you to listen carefully." Those words hit me with a cold rush. Fear rose in my throat so fast that I could barely form a response. I managed a shaky, "Why did you lock the doors? What are you doing?" He didn't raise his voice. He didn't look angry. He looked focused in a way that scared me even more. He said, "I'm trying to keep you safe. Look in the mirror." My hands trembled as I leaned forward to see what he was talking about. Behind us, a dark sedan moved along the same lane, far too close for comfort. The headlights were off, which made the car almost blend into the night. It was the kind of detail that your mind notices a second after your body reacts. A sharp wave of fear washed over me, and my breathing turned uneven. I asked why someone would drive like that at 2 in the morning. Rylan said, "They started following us the moment I pulled away from your friend's building." He spoke slowly, like each word had weight he didn't want to drop. My body stiffened. I felt trapped between panic and disbelief. I pulled out my phone and quickly opened Noah's contact, ready to call him. But Rylan shook his head. "Don't make a call. If they see you moving around too much, they'll know we know." His voice had a calm urgency that forced me to freeze. My hand hovered over my phone as I tried to understand the danger. I wanted to run. I wanted to jump out of the car, even though that made no sense. Being still felt unbearable. I whispered, "Who are they? Why are they following us?" Rylan let out a slow breath. I didn't want to scare you, but I'm pretty sure I know who is inside that car. This is not random. My stomach twisted again, tighter this time. The sedan stayed right behind us, matching our speed, drifting closer when Rylan changed lanes and then easing back into place as if it had a silent plan. The more I watched it, the more wrong everything felt. The inside of the car felt warmer than before, but my hands were ice cold. I tried to swallow, but my mouth was dry. Rylan's knuckles were white on the steering wheel, yet he kept looking ahead, only glancing at the mirror when needed. I could tell he was trying not to alarm me more than I already was, but the tension in his jaw said everything. He finally spoke again. Avery, the man following us has a history, and he doesn't follow people without a reason. Those words hit me harder than anything else he had said. My mind raced as I tried to understand why someone like that would follow me. I replayed every moment from leaving Zara's apartment to getting into the Uber, trying to see if I had done something or seen something that would make a stranger target me. Nothing made sense. I tightened my seatbelt and tried to steady my breathing. The dark sedan crept forward, closing the small space between us. Rylan slightly adjusted the speed to create distance, but the car adjusted too, staying behind us like a shadow that refused to break away. The road around us was empty in every direction. The few streetlights flickered over the pavement, and each light passing made the following car flash in and out of view, which only made the whole scene more haunting. I pressed my hand against my chest as if that could calm the pounding inside. I whispered again, "Why me?" Rylan kept his eyes on the road and said, "People like him look for opportunity. They watch for someone who seems alone, tired, or easy to isolate. You were the only person walking out of that building. That is all it takes." I felt cold all over. The idea that a stranger could choose me in such a simple moment made my skin crawl. The sedan stayed locked on us, steady and silent. The longer it followed, the clearer it became that this wasn't a coincidence or a misunderstanding. Something was about to happen, and I could feel it in every nerve of my body. I wasn't just scared. I was terrified. The fear inside the car had grown so strong that it felt like a living thing pressing against my chest. But Rylan was the first to break the silence. He took a sharp breath and said he was going to try something to shake the car behind us. Without warning, he made a quick left turn onto a wider road that led toward a more populated area. The sudden shift in direction pushed me against the seat, and I grabbed the handle above the window to steady myself. My heart was racing so fast that it felt like it was shaking through my ribs. I glanced back to see if the dark sedan would keep following, and when it made the turn just as quickly as we did, a cold wave ran down my spine. That was the moment I made a decision. I would trust Rylan, even if I did not fully understand what he knew or how serious this danger was. My hand hovered near the door handle, and I kept my phone in my lap, ready in case he or I needed to act fast. I said, "Tell me what is going on. I need to know the truth." Rylan nodded, still focused on the road. He said, "You deserve to know who is back there. I used to work in private security. I helped transport people who needed protection. I have dealt with men like the one behind us." His voice grew tighter as he added, "The car looks like it belongs to a man named Dax Morrow." The name meant nothing to me, but the tension in his voice made it clear this was someone dangerous. I asked why the man would be following us, and Rylan said Dax had a reputation. He would usually watch young women leaving apartments, bars, or quiet areas late at night, then follow them until he found a place where he could isolate them. I felt my stomach twist. My voice felt small when I asked, "Why? Would he choose me?" Rylan answered, "Because you were alone when you stepped outside. That is all people like him need." That answer made my hands tremble harder. I pressed my palms against my jeans to hide it, but my shaking didn't stop. The sedan behind us moved closer, creeping closer than before, and Rylan tightened his grip on the steering wheel. He said, "We are not letting him get near us. We need to stay in public spaces until help arrives." When he said help, I looked at him in confusion. He told me he had triggered Uber's hidden emergency feature, which sent a silent alert with our location, license plate, and route. The system would notify local authorities. Hearing that gave me a thin thread of relief, but the fear was still intense because we were not safe yet. I leaned forward in my seat and searched the road ahead. That was when I spotted the bright lights of a 24-hour gas station a few blocks away. The glow looked like the safest place in the world. I pointed ahead and said, "Go there. There are cameras. There are people." Rylan nodded quickly. "Good call. Hold on." He accelerated a little, trying to put distance between us and the sedan, but the dark car sped up too, as if it sensed we were heading toward safety. I could see it closing in, inch by inch. My hands were shaking, but I forced myself to think clearly. I said, "What if he tries to cut us off?" Rylan kept his eyes forward and said, "Then I will make sure he does not reach you." His voice had a certainty that both comforted me and scared me, because it meant he was fully aware of how serious this was. The dark sedan drifted to the left, then to the right, like it was trying to predict what lane we would choose. The gas station entrance was getting closer, but so was the car behind us. Every second felt stretched and sharp. My breathing grew faster, and the sound of my heartbeat filled my ears. The empty road gave the sedan space to get even closer, and for a moment I thought it would hit us. Rylan adjusted his speed again, keeping just enough distance to prevent the car from coming alongside us. I gripped the seatbelt strap across my chest and stared at the gas station lights, praying nothing would go wrong in the last stretch. Rylan said, "Once we reach that station, do not wait for me. Get out and go straight to anyone you see." His instructions made everything feel even more real. I nodded and kept my eyes locked on the bright lights ahead. The station grew larger in the windshield, and for the first time since noticing the sedan, I felt the faint spark of hope. We had a plan. We had a destination. We just had to reach it before the person behind us made a move. The gas station lights grew brighter as we approached, but the relief I hoped for never came. Instead, the dark sedan behind us made a sudden move, speeding up with a force that made my stomach drop. I could see the front of the car getting closer and closer, as if the person inside had decided that this was the moment to force us off course. Rylan saw it too. His jaw tightened and he leaned forward with both hands gripping the wheel. He said, "Stay ready. He is about to do something." Before I could ask what he meant, the sedan pulled to the left and inched up beside us. I turned my head just enough to see the car's windows tinted so dark that I could barely see anything inside. The only thing visible was a hint of movement from the driver's side. Then the sedan drifted even closer. So close I thought metal would scrape metal at any second. Rylan reacted fast. He pressed the gas and tried to reach the station entrance before the sedan could block us. The tires hummed against the road as we moved forward in one sharp surge. For a brief moment, I thought we might make it. The gas station was right there, glowing like a beacon, with a few cars parked at the pumps and a clerk visible inside the convenience store under the bright fluorescent lights. But the sedan's driver was not giving up. The car matched our speed, swerved toward us, and I saw the driver's face for the first time as streetlights flashed across his window. His expression was calm in a way that felt unnatural, as if following us was a routine task for him. He looked younger than I expected, and dangerously comfortable behind the wheel. The sight of him sent a cold wave through my chest. Rylan muttered, "That is him. That is Dax." And I felt my stomach twist again. Dax jerked his wheel toward us and tried to force our car toward the curb. The move was sudden, aggressive, and terrifying. I grabbed the handle above my window as the car jolted to the side. My breath caught in my throat as the world tilted for a second. But Rylan recovered quickly. He turned the wheel in the opposite direction and steadied the car in a single controlled motion. His voice was low and firm when he said, "I have one chance to lose him for good. Hold tight." The words made my entire body tense. Before I could respond, Rylan shot the car forward and aimed straight for the gas station entrance. Dax tried to follow, but his angle was off. Rylan swerved sharply into the driveway, and the sudden turn made me grip the seat with both hands. The sedan tried to mimic the move, but the pavement near the entrance was slick from a recent cleaning. The dark car skidded sideways and slammed into a concrete barrier near the side of the building. The sound echoed through the lot like a heavy crack. My breath left my body in one sharp rush. Gas station customers jumped and turned toward the noise as Rylan pulled the Uber to a stop near the front door of the convenience store. He threw the car into park and said, "Go, right now." I pushed the door open with shaking hands, ran toward the entrance, and waved at the attendant who had already stepped outside in alarm. My legs felt weak, but fear kept me moving. I shouted for help, and the attendant immediately grabbed his phone to call the police. Rylan stepped out of the driver's seat and kept his eyes on the crashed sedan. He moved with a protective stance, as if ready to block Dax from reaching me. A few seconds later, the driver's door of the sedan opened. My breath caught again. Dax stumbled out of the car, looked around, and then tried to run behind the building. His movement was quick and desperate. Rylan yelled for the attendant to tell the police that the suspect was fleeing on foot. My heart pounded as I watched the dark figure of Dax disappear behind the gas station. Everything felt unreal. Within minutes, a patrol car pulled into the lot, lights flashing, tires screeching slightly as it stopped. 2 officers jumped out and went around the side of the building with their flashlights raised. I held onto the edge of the store counter, shaking so hard that the clerk asked if I needed to sit down. I could not answer. I could only watch the officers vanish behind the building. Shouts came from the back of the lot. Then another voice shouted to someone to get on the ground. Moments later, the officers emerged with Dax in handcuffs. He was breathing hard and glaring at the ground, but he did not resist. Seeing him caught filled me with a strange mix of relief and fear. Relief that he could not reach me, fear that he had been so close in the first place. Rylan walked over to me, his face returning to a calm, steady expression. He said quietly, "You are safe now. They have him." I nodded, unable to speak through the tightness in my throat. When my mom and brother arrived after being notified by police, Noah wrapped his arms around me so tightly I could finally breathe again. For the first time that night, I felt safe, even though my hands were still shaking. The danger was over, but the fear was still settling inside me, and I could feel the weight of everything that almost happened. The ride home from the gas station felt different than anything I had experienced before. My mom sat beside me in the back of her car, holding my hand so tightly that her fingers pressed into my skin, but I did not mind because it reminded me that I was no longer alone. Noah sat in the front seat, checking the mirrors every few seconds, even though the police had assured us that Dax was in custody. Every building we passed looked unfamiliar, even though I knew these streets by heart. Fear had changed the way I saw the world, and it was strange how quickly normal places could turn into reminders of danger. When we finally pulled into our driveway, I stepped out of the car and felt my legs wobble. My mom wrapped her arm around me and guided me inside as if she was afraid I might break. The house smelled like the lavender candle she always lit after a long shift, and for the first time that night, I let myself cry. Not the quiet kind of crying, but the full release that comes when your body is safe enough to feel everything at once. My mom held me close and whispered that I was brave, stronger than I knew, and that I had done everything right. I wanted to believe her, but all I could think about was how close things came to going wrong. After a while, I sat on the couch with a blanket wrapped around my shoulders, and Noah brought me a cup of warm tea. He kept pacing in front of me, running his hands through his hair, and saying he wished he had been able to pick me up that night. I tried to tell him it was not his fault, but he shook his head and said that hearing my voice shake on the phone when the police called him made his heart drop. Watching him worry made me realize that danger never affects just one person. It ripples through the people who care about you, reminding you how deeply you are connected to others. Later that morning, after a few hours of restless sleep, an officer called to check on me and to explain that Dax had a record of stalking women late at night. Hearing that made me sick to my stomach. The officer said that thanks to Rylan's quick thinking and the security footage from the gas station, the case against him was strong, and that he would not be getting out anytime soon. That news brought a wave of relief I did not expect. I thanked the officer over and over, and when the call ended, I sat on the edge of my bed and let myself breathe slowly, feeling the weight lift just enough for me to stand. The next thing I did was call Rylan, I did not know if he would answer, but he picked up after 2 rings with a calm, "Hello." I told him thank you, not just for driving, but for choosing to protect me when he could have ignored the danger and kept going. He said he was grateful he had been in the right place at the right time, and that he hoped I never had to experience anything like that again. His voice was steady, but I could hear a hint of emotion, like the fear from the night before had reached him too. When we hung up, I felt a deep sense of gratitude for someone who had been a stranger only hours earlier, but had become the reason I was still safe. Over the next few days, my family stayed close. My mom refused to let me walk to my car alone, even in broad daylight. Noah charged my phone, updated all my safety apps, and set location sharing without asking. I found myself checking over my shoulder more often, looking twice before unlocking a door, and paying more attention to the people around me. It was not paranoia, it was awareness, the kind you gain only after learning how quickly a normal night can shift into a nightmare. Yet the biggest lesson I took from that night was not just about danger, it was about instinct. I had always brushed off the small warnings in my gut, telling myself I was overthinking, but now I understood that instincts exist for a reason. The pressure in my chest when I noticed something felt wrong, the tension I sensed before seeing the car behind us, the urge to trust Rylan even through fear, all of it mattered. All of it helped keep me alive. A week later, life began to feel normal again. I went back to classes, visited Zara, and tried to regain the peace that had been shaken loose. One evening, my mom, Noah, and I sat together eating takeout, and for the first time since that night, I laughed without feeling guilty. It felt like something inside me had healed, even if not completely. As I got ready for bed, I thought about everything that had happened and how close I came to never making it home. That thought pushed me to share my story, not to scare people, but to remind them that being aware, trusting your instincts, and reaching for help are not signs of fear, but signs of strength. There are real dangers in the world, but there are also strangers who choose to protect, families who refuse to leave your side, and moments that remind you just how valuable your life truly is. That night changed me, but it also taught me that courage is not the absence of fear. It is choosing to act in the middle of it. If you made it this far, hit subscribe and comment where you are watching from, because your support helps me share more stories like this.